Let's dive right in. We're tackling a massive historical mystery today, weighing ancient texts against, well, actual dirt. Grab your magnifying glasses because we are stepping into the shoes of archaeological detectives to look at King Uzziah of Judah. The ancient records claim he had a highly successful 52-year reign in the 8th century BC, but for the longest time, a lot of modern historians just straight up didn't buy it. So, who is telling the truth here, the text or the dirt? Let's look at the ground beneath our feet to find out. Here's the roadmap for our investigation today. First, the Chronicles controversy. Second, the Southern Red Sea expansion. Third, the Philistine campaign evidence. Fourth, defending Jerusalem in the desert. And finally, number 5, the archaeological verdict.
All right, Section 1, the Chronicles controversy. Text versus dirt.
We're kicking off our detective work by looking at the Book of Chronicles. This text gives us a play-by-play of King Uzziah's 52-year reign, recording an incredibly detailed history of building projects, military conquests, and geopolitical maneuvers. It basically describes a golden age. But here is the massive elephant in the room. There is a 400-year gap between when Uzziah actually lived in the 8th century BC and when this author was writing about him in the 5th century BC. Think about that for a second. Imagine someone today trying to write a perfectly accurate, hyper-detailed history of the early 1600s, but without the internet or modern libraries. How could an author, writing centuries later, possibly know the exact names of obscure desert forts, foreign enemies, and specific city walls that existed 400 years earlier? It's a completely fair question.
And that brings us to a fierce academic debate. Did the author just completely invent these detailed military and building campaigns out of thin air, or did they have access to authentic, lost historical archives? You've got skeptical scholars like Julius Wellhausen from the 19th century and Israel Finkelstein more recently arguing that this text is largely a late invention and essentially historically worthless. On the flip side, defenders like Hugh Williamson and Anson Rainey suggest the writer was carefully copying from legitimate, ancient royal archives that simply didn't survive to the modern day. We aren't here to pick favorites, though. We are here to test the data.
To find out who hit the nail on the head, we're going to use Uzziah as our test case. We'll track the 3 specific directions the text claims he expanded his kingdom. Because Judah was allied with Israel to the north at this time, Uzziah really only had 3 ways he could go: south, west, and east. If this ancient text is just a later invention, the dirt simply won't match the story. Let's look for the footprints.
Section 2, the Southern Red Sea expansion. Exhibit A.
The ancient account claims that Uzziah successfully exerted his power all the way down south, right through Edomite territory to Eilat on the Gulf of Aqaba. And when we actually look at Tel el-Khalifa in the far south and Tamar just south of the Dead Sea, boom! Archaeologists have uncovered clear 8th century occupational evidence. We're talking massive square fortresses boasting incredibly similar gate systems and construction techniques. That is not a coincidence. That's the physical fingerprint of a coordinated military expansion by a common Judaic builder, setting up a staging area to secure a Red Sea port.
In fact, scholar Anson Rainey suggested breaking through to the Red Sea to open up trade at Eilat was likely the absolute highlight and biggest accomplishment of Uzziah's reign. Think about it. Controlling that port meant controlling insanely lucrative maritime trade routes. We're talking immense wealth, exotic goods, and valuable spices flooding in from across the ancient world. So our first test absolutely checks out. The 8th century dirt in the deep south matches the geopolitical claims of the text perfectly.
Let's move to Section 3, the Philistine campaign evidence. Exhibit B.
Let's pivot our investigation westward toward the Mediterranean coast. The ancient text claims Uzziah literally broke down the walls of major Philistine cities and built his own settlements right on their turf. It explicitly names Gath, Yavna, and Ashdod. And when archaeologists dig into these specific locations, the 8th century footprints of a Judaic presence are undeniable. Near Yavna, archaeologists accidentally stumbled on an 8th century favasa, which is a repository for sacred temple items showing distinct Judahite influences. Over at the famous Philistine city of Gath, excavations revealed a massive 60-acre settlement packed with Judean material culture popping up around 750 BC. And finally, at Ashdod, archaeologists unearthed a large 6-chamber gate that is a classic hallmark of Judaic architecture.
Ashdod actually gives us a really fascinating look at the timeline. We know the Assyrians destroyed Ashdod later in the 8th century, but archaeologists found an earlier, completely separate destruction layer hidden beneath the Assyrian rubble. That right there is our smoking gun. It firmly correlates with the textual claim that Uzziah attacked the city earlier in the century before building his own Judahite-style gates and walls right over the wreckage.
Section 4. Defending Jerusalem and the Desert. Exhibit C.
Moving to our final geographic zone, the Book of Chronicles calls Uzziah a man who loved the soil. It says he built towers in the desert, cut numerous cisterns for water, and heavily fortified the capital, Jerusalem. While when we survey the Judean desert east of Jerusalem at places like Qumran and Ein Gedi, we find exactly what the text describes: 8th century paramilitary settlements and extensive attempts at desert irrigation. And right in the heart of Jerusalem, excavations along the Ophel Wall between the City of David and the Temple Mount revealed a massive royal gateway dating to this exact period. The text also mentions that Uzziah's fame spread all the way to the border of Egypt. Now, for a long time, this site of Kuntilat Adrud was brushed off as just a religious pilgrimage spot, but look at its location right on the eastern Sinai border. It was actually an 8th century geopolitical trading post full of Israelite and Judaite pottery. As Dr. Jeffrey Hudon points out, soldiers stationed here were guarding vital caravan routes, providing a physical anchor to the claim that Uzziah's military and economic influence successfully reached the very edges of Egyptian territory. Tragically, despite all his success, Uzziah contracted a skin disease late in life. The text says he was forced into a house of freedom, which is a poetic, ancient euphemism for strict quarantine away from the royal palace. Just south of Jerusalem, overlooking a beautiful valley, excavators found an 8th century royal Judean estate, complete with agricultural terraces at Ramat Rachel. It perfectly matches the description of an isolated quarantine house, aligning remarkably well with exactly where a king who loved the soil would spend his final, isolated days.
Section 5. The Archaeological Verdict. Reaching a conclusion.
We've reviewed the dirt in the text, all the way from the Red Sea to the Philistine coast. We've seen the forts, the gates, the destruction layers, and the desert outposts. Now we have to answer our central question. Could a writer living in the 5th century BC have simply hallucinated all of these perfectly accurate 8th century topographical and geopolitical details? If this author was just making things up to glorify a past king, how on earth did they accidentally guess the exact locations of 8th century desert forts, the correct architectural presence in Philistia, and those precise border dynamics down near Egypt?
But there's one final piece of evidence that truly seals the case: the Munites. For centuries, critics would point to this obscure Arabian group the text says Uzziah fought and say, "See, made up. This group doesn't exist." That was until 1970, when scholar Chaim Tadmor was translating the annals of the Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser III, a king who actually lived right there in the 8th century BC. Buried in those ancient records, the Munites were explicitly listed.
A writer sitting in a room 400 years later could not have simply guessed the existence of an obscure Arabian tribe that perfectly matches a buried 8th century Assyrian administrative text. It's impossible. Because they couldn't have known about the Munites without ancient sources, the preponderance of archaeological evidence overwhelmingly supports the text's historicity. The author of Chronicles wasn't inventing history out of thin air. They were acting as a genuine historian, selectively utilizing real ancient royal archives that have since been lost to time.
And this leaves us with a really provocative thought to end our explainer. If the dirt so cleanly vindicates the controversial Book of Chronicles here, what other ancient historical text might we be dismissing entirely too soon? When we align the ancient text with the hard archaeological dirt, from massive gates at Ashdod to a tiny mention of the Munite tribe, the past comes into brilliant, undeniable focus. Keep questioning, keep looking at the evidence, and we'll see you in the next explainer.